Let's begin tonight by telling you that Vice President Kashim Shettima on Monday led a team of top party leaders, including APC National Chairman Abdullahi Ganduje, to Delta State to officially welcome Governor Sheriff Oborevwori, his predecessor Ifeanyi Okowa, and the entire PDP structure in the state to the ruling All Progressive Congress APC. At the event held in Asaba, Oborevwori said the decision to join the APC followed extensive consultation with stakeholders across the oil-rich state and was inspired by President Bola Tinubu's demonstrated love and commitment to Delta State.
When I want to assure our chairman, national chairman, because there are some things people say in newspaper, there's confusion, there's a faction. As I've come, there will no more faction again. Because let me tell you, APC is not like PDP. The governor takes charge. Yes. And we are taking charge. Yes. Is it not true? Whether the faction of the Oma Gege, whether the faction of First of the Kiam, I don't believe in any faction. Yes. Everybody must queue. Yes. Everybody must queue. Yes. And we unite this state. Yes. To move this state forward. Thank you. For the benefit of this state, and it will bring development, it will bring peace, it will bring unity in Delta State and in Nigeria.
In the meantime, Abia State Governor Alex Oti has dismissed reports suggesting that he is planning to defect to the All Progressive Congress from the Labour Party. In a statement issued by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ferdinand Okeoma, the governor clarified that he neither held any meeting with Imo State Governor Hope Uzodimma nor discussed plans to join the APC. He explained that following the National Economic Council meeting on Thursday, April 24th, Governor Oti, alongside few of his colleagues, had attended the birthday celebration of Governor Uzodimma's twin daughters, a purely social event unconnected to politics. To discuss these defections and suggestions that the country is moving towards a one-party state, I'm joined now by public affairs analyst Femi Lawson. Femi, thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
What implications are there for this defection of a state governor and the entire PDP structure in Delta State to the APC for Nigeria's political landscape?
Well, I think we must place this correctly, that even though Governor Sheriff Oborevwori and his political godfather, former Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, has decided to pitch their tent with the APC in Delta State, I don't think this totally means that the entire PDP structure in Delta State has collapsed into the APC. For me, and for anyone who have studied the political trajectory of our country, particularly since 2003 till now, you want to agree with me that this is more about the individual ambition of politicians, rather than the interest of the state. Mr. Sheriff has every right, especially as guaranteed by the Constitution, to freely associate under the freedom of association guaranteed by the Constitution.
Mr. Lawson, your submission sort of contradicts what the governor said. I mean, both the governor and the former governor said publicly that the defection was nothing personal. It was for the interest of the state and the good of the state. So it had no personal...
There is nothing like the interest of the state when the Constitution, the ground norm, clearly dictates that any elected official, the State Assembly, National Assembly, including governor, who vacates this. Sheriff Oborevwori was not on the ballot during the governorship election, in Delta in 2023. it was his party, the PDP, that was on the ballot. So that a man who secured the mandate of the people of Delta State on the platform of the PDP now decided in his own wisdom to jump the ship to another party where there was no issue, means that a lot of our politicians do not give regard to the political parties on the platform of which they are elected. And it is very sad. Today it is, this was the same thing the PDP did, coercing governors from the opposition party into his party, coercing members of the opposition into his party while it was in power in 16 years. Now it is playing back on the PDP because there is no justification under the law for Governor Sheriff to have dumped the party that the people of Delta State voted for his party. No, Sheriff was not on the ballot, but today he is a member of the APC.
Mr. Lawson, not to be controversial here, but some persons have said it's now like a culture. There was a time the PDP was everybody's new bride. Everybody was defecting to the PDP. Now, the PDP no longer serves them. They're going to the APC. Wouldn't you say that it is some sort of progression for them to want to look for the best option to improve the lives of the people of Delta?
No, like I told you, I mentioned what you just said now. The PDP is the architect of whatever is defective about our democracy in Nigeria today. When we talk about the politics of coercion, we talk about the politics of intimidation, we talk about the politics of even manipulation, PDP started it all. So PDP is paying the price of what it initiated in Nigeria today. That nonetheless, we cannot but clearly state that this is not about the people of Delta State. It is not because the federal government is not taking projects to Delta State. It's not because the federal government is not paying allocations to Delta State. It's about the ambition of few individuals, particularly the governor of Delta State, who feels the APC is a more veritable platform for him to return to the office, especially when there are clear indications that he's woefully performing as the governor of Delta State. So for me, it is not about politics of ideology. This is not about principle. This is not even about discipline. It's about individuals who are just desperate to remain in office.
All right, Mr. Lawson.
I want to ride on the popularity of the current administration.
All right, Mr. Lawson, I'll come back to you in a bit. I understand we have our second guest for this conversation. He's a professor of international relations and strategic studies at the University of Lagos, Professor David Aworawo. Prof, thank you very much for giving us your time. I'll just jump on straight to suggestions that the nation is heading towards a one-party state as a result of these realignment, this defection that we are seeing. What are your thoughts?
Thank you for having me. It is too early to jump into that conclusion that Nigeria is heading towards a one-party state. Certainly, the defections to the APC have strengthened the party. They've expanded the scope of the party, the influence of the party, and all. But it is too early to begin to talk about a one-party state. There's a whole lot that will still happen between now and 2027. And the defections, though they have strengthened the APC and the chances of President Bola Tinubu winning 2027, but it does not guarantee it. It depends on what the opposition does. If they're able to find a common ground and form a viable coalition, what the APC has now might not even be as imposing as what the other side will have. So the defections, yes, they've strengthened the APC and the chances of President Bola Tinubu winning 2027. But by no means does it suggest that Nigeria is heading towards a one-party state.
But can the PDP survive? Can they survive what we are seeing, from legal battles to infighting to leadership tussle? And now we have an entire structure moving. What are the chances, despite the tough talk, that the PDP will survive this and remain an opposition of repute?
Yes, it doesn't have to be the PDP. In the last election, the APC, the PDP, and the Labour Party only separated one another by just 1 million votes each, less than 1 million in one instance. And so when we are talking about, the viable opposition to the APC, it doesn't have to be the PDP. It could be the Labour Party. It could be some other, some other contraption that comes. These things can be formed very quickly. And what the point I'm making is that there's still a large number of, people, politicians, interests that are not in the APC right now. Even within the APC, there are individuals who are dissatisfied with what is happening, who are even saying that they will ensure that President Bola Tinubu does not win 2027. Just yesterday, on the Jesus Tega Nopasa, who spoke to another channel, and he was saying that, look, they are in the APC, but they will work against President Bola Tinubu in 2027. So it doesn't have to be the PDP. The field out there is very vast.
All right, but what we have at the moment is that we see a situation, I guess, in all fairness, the argument that the country might be leaning towards a one-party state is because of the strength of the parties that are in existence in Nigeria at the moment. Labour Party gained some prominence with the 2023 election, but are they united? Just as divided as the PDP seems, it's what we have with the Labour Party. I want to come to you, Mr. Lawson, and still put the same question to get your thoughts on this one-party argument. Do you agree with the Prof that we are not leaning towards that as yet, that there are still opposition that can put up a good fight?
I want to agree completely with Prof. And I think for every good student of history, since 2015 that PDP lost power at the central, except for those who don't actually understand what is defined as opposition politics. PDP has never represented opposition politics in Nigeria since 2015. In actual fact, the moment PDP lost power in 2015 to the APC when Buhari came as the president, PDP has gone into intensive care units, trying to recuperate, which it never achieved to date. Between 2015, where Buhari was president in 2023, and between 2023 and now, it is the Nigerian people political party that have represented. So for those raising alarm about the drift towards a one-party state and the likes, I want to, in all sincerity, think they have not been following the trend. Okay. It's actually the first time we ever have a vocal opposition to the incumbent party in Nigeria was between 2022 and 2023 when the obedience movement started, when Mr. Peter Obi, vied for presidency, got the ticket of the Labour Party, and in an unprecedented manner created a third force in Nigeria.
Okay.
Never been in our history.
Mr. Lawson, I really would love you to.
So for me, the PDP does not symbolize the opposition. So even if all the PDP governors in Nigeria today decide to hate peace, to go
okay,
to the APC,
Mr. Lawson, I'm afraid that's all the time we have. I want to say thank you very much to you and the professor for sparing the time to speak with us on this subject. Thank you. Glad you're still with us. You're watching Tonight. A reminder of our top stories. APC officially welcomes Delta State Governor and other PDP leaders to the party. Husband of late gospel artist Osinachi sentenced to death by hanging. Canada goes to polls as President Trump renews calls for country to become 51st U.S. state. Residents of Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory have expressed different reactions following the verdict delivered by an FCT High Court, which sentenced the husband of the late singer to death by hanging following a protracted case bordering on culpable homicide since 2022. Our correspondent, Joshua Imaraye, spoke to residents on the streets of Nigeria's capital to gauge public sentiment on the judgment. His report.
The long wait for justice in the death of popular singer Osinachi Nwachukwu came to an end today as the Federal Capital Territory High Court delivered its verdict. In her ruling, Justice Njideka Nwosu Iheme found Osinachi's husband, Peter Nwachukwu, guilty of culpable homicide in connection with her death on April 8, 2022. Meanwhile, residents across the FCT have begun reacting to the judgment.
I think justice for the woman, right? He deserves whatever he did to her, even double, because no man should beat a woman. In fact, no man on earth should beat a woman, not to the point of death.
Justice must take its course, but at the same time, mercy could also be applied. But for people to learn their lessons, the man went overboard. If the stories we heard concerning the deaths that led to the death of Osinachi was actually he committed it anyway, he has been sentenced to death. That means which he committed it.
When I heard the story that the husband is beating her, and just battering her, it's as in it's unheard of. It's not really good at all. So, and I think it's a good thing. At least if this country can continue like this, yes, we'll get justice for every evil or any harm that is done to anybody.
While some welcome the judgment as a fitting punishment for the crime, others express divergent views, particularly on the issue of the death sentence.
Killing him won't bring her back, and I don't think it will bring the family peace in any way. I don't support people killing other people. I think only God has the right to do that.
As a woman, my advice to all the female, when you get married to a violent man, instead of you to sacrifice your life for the marriage, it is better to quit the marriage. So don't endure the pain. That I think it's advisable to leave marriage than to give yourself to ghost.
The verdict has sparked fresh conversations about domestic violence and justice in Nigeria, as many believe the judgment will serve as a deterrent to would-be perpetrators. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imaraye.
Thank you, Joshua. Joining me now for a conversation on this is a lawyer and civil rights activist, Dr. Abiola Akiyode Afolabi. She is founding director at Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center. Thank you for giving us your time. Fair verdict or not? Your thoughts?
Well, thank you very much. I believe that this is really a victory, not only for the late Osinachi, but also for women in Nigeria who over time have had to go through this process, and some have to die. There's a lot of femicide in the country currently, and so Osinachi's case has actually brought out the need for the government to do more, to protect women in Nigeria. And the fact that it was actually culpable homicide, and the prosecutor was able to prove that Osinachi's husband contributed, so much to her death. Also, it's a big victory. And the fact that the VAP Act was also used is also another victory for the women in Nigeria.
Is the death verdict not deterrent to other would-be perpetrators of domestic violence or femicide or any sort of violence against women?
Well, the death penalty, there are two arguments. There are advantages and there are disadvantages. And as a human rights activist, I don't subscribe to death penalty, partly also because there's a limit to those who argue for it, argue that it is in terms of deterrence, They also say that there's justice for victims and family, which is what we are enjoying currently, to say, yes, at a point in time, justice came for Osinachi. Then it's also cost saving, so that the taxpayers' money also don't go in for incarceration. And a lot of people also argue for the fact that it is also for public safety. But there are also the disadvantages to it. What we have seen over time is that there are also risk of wrongful execution. So not all the time that the person who committed the offense, is arrested and justice is seen also for that person. It's also cruel, because if you read this against Section 34 of the Constitution, which talks about human dignity, you raise the issue of whether capital punishment is the best, to give, or not. And the most important is also the fact that data and statistics have shown that it actually does not, address the issue of deterrence. There is really lack of deterrence effects, and and this has not reduced the kind of that kind of offense, whether it's armed robbery, whether it's femicide, and all of that. And that's why it's important to think deeply about whether this is the right thing to do. There are also moral and ethical concerns around this issue. So there are a number of issues for and against when it comes to capital punishment.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a minute there was any actual execution of death penalty in Nigeria, even though we know that judges are all still given the death penalty as a punishment. But holistically, how does this look for the Nigerian justice system stance on domestic violence and femicide, and what message does it send to perpetrators of abuse and violence in Nigeria? I mean, the time span for this verdict to be read, it's about roughly 3 years from when the case was instituted to now. Is that expedited?
Well, if we compare this to other cases, it's quite expedited. And so for all of us, for people who are working in the area of women, this is justice. And the fact that the case also didn't take too long before the judgment came. So it's really, and the fact that the Violence Against Persons Act, which is a recent act, was also applied in this matter. Now, if you look at the case, apart from the culpable homicide, where the court sentenced him to death, he has almost another 13 other offenses, which has different, ranging from fines. So if we put that together, that has also given him another 24 years, imprisonment. So even if the death by hanging option, didn't take place, it's not going to work on the street, because it still has to remain in prison, to be able to fulfill the imprisonment that, as he has been committed to. So it is also for women, it's also a lesson for a lot of women that you need to speak out, and that you need to find help when you are going through, whether it's emotional torture, whether it is physical assault, whether it's domestic violence, whatever form of violence that you are going through, whether it's psychological, in the home, it's important, to speak out. And there are organizations that are working in this area.
Doctor, thank you for giving us your time.
It's a pleasure.
Tonight returns in a moment. Stay with us. Polls open across Canada, where a snap election is being held to determine who will become the country's next prime minister. It comes just 6 weeks after Mark Carney was sworn in as prime minister, replacing his party colleague Justin Trudeau. The two clear front runners are the Liberal Party, led by Carney, who have been in power for a decade, and the Conservative Party, led by Pierre Poilievre. President Trump has weighed in on the election via his social media account, repeating his calls for the nation to become the 51st U.S. state. Poilievre responded to Trump with a post asking the U.S. president to stay out of their politics. Anna Mika is a human resource expert and a development analyst. She joins us from Ontario. Canada to discuss the ongoing election amid Trump's tariff. Professor Yomi Fawemi, a foreign affairs analyst, also joins in. Good to see you both, and thank you for giving us your time. Anna, I will start with you. What's your assessment of the voting process so far compared to previous elections?
Well, I think that the voting process has shown some improvements in accessibility and efficiency compared to previous election. However, I do believe that issues such as voter engagement, regional disparities, and overall trust in the system still need some serious attention. And while the mechanics have become somewhat more streamlined, the broader challenge is still restoring that public confidence and participation.
Prof, how do you think the election outcome will impact the country's economic policies, particularly in relation to U.S. face-off? I don't know, what of the candidates are going to be the best option to protect Canadian interests?
Interesting, and thanks for the question and having me too. I think to follow up on what Anna said, the issue in this election is the person that is not on the ballot box, and that's Donald Trump, the president of the USA. The biggest challenge, it seems as if the most important thing to the average Canadian voter, including myself, I voted a couple of hours back, is the question of the belief that there's a need for someone that can stand up to President Donald Trump. And that's what seems to be giving the Liberal candidates a bigger chance compared to Poilievre, because of the fact that Poilievre had not clearly distanced himself from Donald Trump and his rhetorics a long time back. It's in the recent times he's trying to show that difference. So it seems as if what Canadians are voting for is who is going to stand up to Donald Trump and who is going to ensure that our economy stands very strong. And based on people's perception, and also based on the fact that Carney, the leader of the Liberal Party, has extensive experience. He has been the central bank governor in the US, in Canada, and also in the UK. So people believe he will do a great job with the economy because of his experience. He also has experience in consulting, managing of investment firms up and down. So there seems to be like a perception that this man is going to make the economy work and he's going to stand up to Donald Trump. So I think that is the major thing in this election, and that's what likely going to determine the eventual prime minister.
Anna, talk to us about the U.S. tariff war that's going on. How is it expected to influence Canadian voters' decision in this election?
Well, I would like to speak to it from perspective of business owners that we are working with, and the tariff disputes have definitely underscored the vulnerability of Canadian economy to American political shifts, right? So for many voters, and among those that we are speaking to as business owners, particularly those in manufacturing, agriculture, export-driven sectors, these tensions have brought economic security to forefront. So I do believe that voters will be looking for a strong, credible leadership on those trade policies, and that may factor these realities into their choices right now, favoring candidates who appear capable of balancing those firm negotiations with diplomatic pragmatism, I think.
Prof, talk to us about this repetition from Trump about making Canada the 51st U.S. state. Is that even a consideration for voters here? Is it something that shows some concern for the Canadian sovereignty?
Well, I mean, thanks. Great question. This morning, President Trump wrote on his Truth Central social media handle about this question of these 25 states. What's clear is that it's something that he says all the time. Some people believe he's just joking. Some people he's trolling. There was a conversation by one of the premiers of the provinces that said his assessment that he really means it. But the question is that it's not going to happen because of the fact that there are no procedural system that is going to make it to happen. Let's also remember that there have been some provinces in Canada that voted to see whether they wanted to become part of the USA. And in all the elections that they have not won. Let's also remember that Quebec, one of the provinces, has also voted to leave Canada, and I think on 2 occasions and lost. So Canadians want their country to be their country. Nobody's going to offer to go join the 51 state and to join the USA and became the 51 states, 54 states, if you allow me to say that. President Donald Trump has said it many times, but like many things he says, there's really no strategy, no coherent plan to make it happen. So if he really wants the US, Canada to be the 54 states, so how? I mean, he has not mentioned, okay, this is the procedure, this is the method, this is the timeline. He just says it. And in my opinion, I think he says this to just troll. I also think he says this to also influence the election.
It's just talk in your view, I guess. Let's bring in Anna again and just ask, how is the outcome of this election likely to impact Canada's trade relationship with other countries in light of the face-off with the United States?
Well, I think the election outcome will influence whether Canada aggressively pursues the trade diversification or doubles down on repairing and maintaining its U.S. ties, right? And I think that's what we're all anxiously waiting for. And a government focused on expanding international trade partnership will most likely prioritize agreements with Europe, Asia, emerging markets to buffer against that U.S. volatility and uncertainty. A strained relationship with the U.S., however, could probably lead to significant short-term economic turbulence, and that will impact, and we see that impacts a lot of things, from the supply chain to investment confidence. So managing those dynamics carefully probably will be vital to the long-term stability.
All right, Prof, just one more before we go. I want to pick on your Nigerian part to ask you this question. We know that Canada has 6 different time zones. So opening and closing times are going to be different. But what is most important is that polls door has not closed. Counting has already begun for mail-in ballots from Canadians who voted from abroad. This is according to update from Elections Canada. I want your thoughts on what you've seen there and its applicability here in Nigeria for diaspora voting.
Well, I mean, one of the things, I think Anna's mentioned some of you have asked another question. One of the major differences in this election is the number of people that did early voting. There were quite a lot of early voters. We have never had that number in terms of people that voted before today. So, which is something, and I think this is something that we can adopt in Nigeria. I wish I had the opportunity to try to compare my experience voting in Nigeria versus voting here, just for us to see how different things are and why we don't have any excuse why we cannot improve our elections in Nigeria and make it become more seamless, easier, and more accessible. So what I noticed is quite a lot of changes have happened also in the way Canadians voted. Many people are now voting earlier than the day. On the day of the vote itself, there are fewer people voting. People are also voting from outside Canada, which I think Nigeria has talked about many times about this question of diaspora voting. In my opinion, I think before we get to diaspora voting is for us to first allow people to vote early. So this idea of everybody must come on a Saturday. If you notice, today is Monday. Today is Monday and we are holding an election and nobody has closed any road. Schools are open. I voted in the school hall. The children were in class. They were learning. Nothing's changed. You know, they were able to continue their life while we voted. I think that's part of what we need to start to think about if we want to start to learn from that in Nigeria.
I guess we still have a long way to go. Thank you very much for speaking with us, Anna. It's been a pleasure having you tonight.
Thank you.
Business news is next after the short break. Stay with us. There's a lot of talk about wage arrears in business. Joanna is here for all the details. Joanna, what is this talk about?
Well, the government is making the announcement that, of course, they will be paying the arrears, about 5 months arrears in payments of the new minimum wage. It's been over 10 months since it was announced, and I guess ahead of Workers' Day, 1st of May, they're making this announcement. I'll bring you the details after this break. The federal federal government has announced it will begin paying the outstanding 35,000 wage award arrears for 5 months immediately after April 2025 salaries. Payments will be made in monthly installments until the arrears are fully cleared. This was revealed by Mr. Bawa Mokwa, Director of Press and Public Relations at the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. While 5 months' worth of wage awards has been previously disbursed, an additional 5 months remained unpaid. The government aims to support low-grade federal workers and economic reforms. And Taiwo Oyedele, chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, confirmed that real estate transactions will be exempt from value-added tax once a tax reform bill becomes law. This exemption aims to reduce building materials and housing costs, particularly benefiting low-income earners. Oyedele stated that there will be no VAT on land sales or rentals, addressing past controversies. He highlighted additional benefits, including exemptions on stamp duties for rents under 10 million naira and capital gains tax on home sales. The bill aims to enhance housing affordability and economic activity in the construction sector. And coming to the NGX, of course, positive sentiments, kicking off the week on a bullish note. Investors are reacting positively to Q1 corporate earnings release. We're seeing the market gaining 35 basis points today. All-share index 106,116.18. And market capitalizations at 66.69 trillion naira. Coming to sectoral performances, we only have oil and gas, I believe, down today, and that is all thanks to Aradel dipping significantly. We're seeing oil and gas sector down 2.87%. All other sectors are in the green today. A good start to the week. We'll see how the week progresses on the NGX today and ahead. I am Joanna Mustafa. That is Business Tonight. Tonight continues with Felicity.
I have Onyinyechi here with me for some sports update. There's congratulations for Remo Stars. What's that about? What did they win?
Yes, of course. The weekend marked a very remarkable one for Remo Stars. They were crowned 2024-2025 champions, and now they're getting a congratulatory message from the president himself. I'll tell you more about that, Felicity, shortly. In sport, President Bola Tinubu has congratulated Remo Stars, the football club, on their landmark achievement of winning the 2024-2025 Nigeria Premier Football League title. In a statement, President Tinubu described the club's historic victory as a testament to the hard work, discipline, and resilience of the players, coaching crew, and management staff. The president praised the Ikenne-based club for their perseverance, noting that their triumph came just 4 years after their promotion to the MPFL and following 3 previous near misses in the title race. He also commended the club's owner and chairman, Kunle Shoname, for the vision and investment in the grassroots football. As national champions, Remo Stars will now represent Nigeria in the CAF Champions League, and the President Tinubu urged the team to carry the same fighting spirit and focus into the continental competition. Lagos State has been confirmed as the first African city to host a race in the UIM E1 World Championship, the world's first all-electric race boat series. That's the Nigerian metropolis. They will have to welcome the championship from the 4th to the 5th of October this year, joining an elite list of global host cities that includes Monaco, Miami, and Doha, one of Africa's largest cities. Lagos is known for its vibrant culture, growing technology landscape, and dynamic economic growth. The city is dominated by a huge 6,000-kilometer lagoon, which will stage the race. Team Drogba, that's co-owned by football icon Didier Drogba, is one of the 9 teams competing in the competition, alongside with franchises owned by global stars such as Tom Brady, LeBron James, Rafael Nadal, and Will Smith. Moving away from that, Africa's men doubles champion Abdul Basit Abdul Fatai and top-ranked female player Hope Udoaka They are the top seeds in the singles event of the 5th Michael and Felicia Alabi Memorial National Table Tennis Competition. Now, this prestigious tournament is currently underway in the historic town of Oton, Ayegbaju, Osun State. Now, the event was officially declared open on Monday, 28th of April, by the Deputy Governor of Osun State, Kola Adeosi, who participated in an exhibition match against former African champion Saka Suraju. Abdul Fatai, who narrowly lost the national title to Matthew Kuti earlier this year, is determined to reclaim his spot on the national team. Representing Cross River State, Udoaka will be aiming to unseat defending champion Shukurat Aye Lagbegon of Kwara State in the women's singles. And now to boxing, Dana Dubois showed Alexander Usyk during a heated face-off at the Wembley Stadium on Monday. The heavyweight is set to have a rematch in the iconic London venue on July 19, just under 2 years after Usyk won their controversial inaugural encounter. Both men were locked in an ice-cold stare for a few seconds before Dubois shoved Usyk. But luckily, that was where the altercation ended as security waded in and broke up the pair. Since losing to Usyk, Dubois has strung together 3 straight wins over Jaromir Miller, Filip Hrgovic and Anthony Joshua, and he holds the IBF belt. Ukraine's undefeated unified champion Usyk holds the WBA, WBO and IBF straps.
Time for entertainment news, and Sam Dandy has the details. Over to you.
Well, there's a lot happening in entertainment, some good and some bad, but you know I'm going to start with the good news. There's a collaboration that we're all looking forward to seeing happen. Maroon 5 and Lisa from Blackpink, it's talking about collabs, and let's not lie, Koreans are doing it really well in the music scene. I'll bring you all the details after this quick break. Starting with good news, Maroon 5 and Blackpink's Lisa have officially announced their collaboration Priceless. Now, fans have seen the teaser from as far back as April the 25th, and now they're excited because it's official. The track features Adam Levine's falsetto and Lisa, who's incredible at rapping, from Korea. There's a music video, of course, of some behind the scenes, but unfortunately, there's still no release date, but you can pre-save the project. Now, this announcement is exciting for a lot of people because, you know, Maroon 5, the last time they dropped a project in 2021, and this one is ahead of the project coming out soon. Also, Lisa just dropped her debut project, and that one's doing fire. So both stars who are incredible from different parts of the globe, you know, coming together on this one. And let's not lie, the numbers they've always brought to the table are incredible. I mean, from number 7 on Billboard's 200, you know, with Lisa, and exciting performance, of course. She did a great job at Coachella. I don't know. I have to ask you, Felicity, now. Do you listen to K-pop?
I do, actually. I love Maroon 5.
Okay.
And when you think of the hit song Payphone,
that is right.
As we're talking, all I could think, I'm at a payphone.
That was the hit song. That was the hit song.
Okay. Good one. I look forward to it, actually.
These things, I feel like we have to preach the gospel of collaboration every time, because what that does for an American musician and the K-pop, their numbers are incredible. We know from either it's BTS or Blackpink, we can see that somehow the market, and if Nigerians can collaborate with them, that might take us to another level.
Well, who knows? You never say never.
Who knows? But on the other side of not so great news, of course, this one, you've talked about this earlier on the show, Osinachi's husband. And I think it's beautiful to remind ourselves of a few of the musicians, gospel musicians, who have reacted to this in the past. Of course, Nathaniel Bassey had warned Christians, especially, to shine your eye, you know, when looking for a partner, be careful. All right. And one particular one was Shola Allison, who quickly said that society many times will judge gospel musicians if they made certain decisions, especially about divorce, before, you know, how untimely passing. But hopefully people take, you know, a word to these things.
I do believe that we have to grow to the level where we do what is best for us and what others think, so long as you're not invading another's privacy or infringing on their rights.
Right.
You should do what is right for you, and domestic violence is not something that should be condoned in any way. May our soul continue to rest in peace.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, that's much we take on entertainment. I am Sam Dandy.
entertainment news.
And that's all we have for you tonight. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the top stories tonight. APC officially welcomes Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborevwori and other PDP leaders to the party. Husband of late gospel artist Osinachi sentenced to death by hanging. We also told you that Canada goes to the polls as President Trump renews calls for country to become 51st U.S. state. As always, we want to hear from you. Please send your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen. You can follow us on all social media platforms to do that as well at News Central TV. You can watch live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and on YouTube. Thank you for your kind company. Have a good night.